Today on Will Bake for Food, I'm going to show you how to make this delicious bread pudding.
Only food for me. Food, food, food.
Welcome back to Will Bake for Food. Today we're going to make a delicious bread pudding. If you've made my challah recipe, you will know that it makes 2 giant loaves and sometimes you can't finish it all before it goes stale. In order to get all of the use out of that bread that we can make a bread pudding out of it, and it will last a few more days and makes a delicious dessert. You can find all the instructions and ingredients to this recipe on my Will Bake for Food blog. Now, let's get started. The first thing we have to do is to prepare our bread. So, I've cubed my bread into about 1-inch pieces. I've sprayed and prepared my 9x13 pan, and I've prepared an apple and some cranberries for topping. So, in your pan, just pour your breadcrumbs in here. Make sure that they all got cut apart. If some of them look a little too big, you can rip them. Something like that. Then you can sprinkle your apples and cranberries. You can use whatever kind of fruit you want. I like apples and cranberries in this recipe in particular. If you want to, you can use raisins or and pick your apple. I picked a tart apple, so I'm just going to sprinkle that over top here. We want to kind of evenly distribute this, not only for flavor but also color. The cranberries give a nice color against the white of the bread. And then the apples give a nice little green against the color of the cranberries. So it's like a nice picture, okay? So let's set this aside. The bread is prepared. Now it's time to make our custard filling that goes into this. Okay, so I've made this a few times, and one of the tricks that I saw from joyofbaking.com was one that you cream the eggs and the sugar together first, just like a cookie. Like everything's like making a cookie, who knew? But anyhow, you cream the eggs and the sugar together first and make them a little bit frothy, puts a little bit of air and gets the custard going really well before you put in your half and half and milk mixture. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in my 4 eggs that are at room temperature into my stand mixer that has the paddle attachment on it, and I'm just going to break these up just a little bit first and then put my sugar in. Okay, so now we have a cup of sugar and a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. The bread is very dense and it needs a little bit of acidity to this, so I put some brown sugar and some granulated sugar in here. And then we're just going to cream this for about 4 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Okay, so it's been about 4 minutes of beating our eggs and our sugars together, and what we get is a nice frothy little bit of a ribbon here. They're not runny, they're runny, but they're frothy, right? Okay, so now it's time to put in our spices and flavoring, because all we got so far is some sweet eggs. So, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I'm gonna put that in there and mix it. So I also have cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. It seems like those are the spices of the season. You use them with apples and everything else. So I'm gonna put that in here and whip that up a little bit. Get it incorporated. Oh, the smell of this is amazing. Okay, so all of my spices and vanilla are into my egg and sugar mixture. So now it's time for the heavy cream. Dun, dun, dun. Actually, what I have here is a half and half mixture of heavy whipping cream to milk. The more heavy cream there is, fat content, etc., the more thick your custard is going to be in your bread. For our palate here, we like about half and half. Half milk, half heavy cream. So we're just going to put this into our egg mixture. And just stir it. So that's kind of got everything incorporated. Now what we do is we pour our custard here, our custard mixture here, I should say, just over top of our prepared bread, apples, and cranberry. Okay? Just pour it right over top. It's It's real simple. I melted some butter and let it cool down so that it's not too hot. And we're just gonna drizzle this right over top. And that will all spread out while it's cooking, okay? So just mash all this together and make sure that the custard comes up over top of the bread. You're gonna let this sit for about 30 minutes while you preheat your oven so that all this custard soaks into this glorious challah bread. And then I'll show you what's next. So as you can see here, this custard has been soaked up by the bread. And now it's time to actually bake it. So a bread pudding is a little bit like a cheesecake in that you have to have a water bath. So I've got a roasting pan here, and I'm just gonna stick my pan right inside the roasting pan, okay? And then I've boiled some water. If you don't have a kettle, you can put just hot tap water in here. And we're just gonna put it enough in here to come up about a ½ inch to an inch up the sides of the pan. The reason we use a water bath is so that there is an even temperature in the oven, and you don't want this to heat up too fast, because what will happen is if you heat it up way too fast, your custard will separate, the fats will separate. Now it won't really affect the flavor, but it does make it not look as nice. So we're gonna stick this in our 300-degree oven for about an hour or so, and then we'll check it. When you check it, what you're looking for is when you press down, there should be no visible custard. If custard comes up, then you need just a little bit longer. So I'll show you what it looks like when we take it out. Okay, so it's been an hour. Just gonna check our bread pudding here and see how we're doing. You push down on it, see how there's a little bit of the custard still kind of coming up there. So we're gonna put it in for 10 more minutes. Okay, so our bread pudding is complete. It took an extra 10 minutes in my oven. One thing to note is that when you have a water bath, and depending on your oven if you have a gas or electric, the water bath actually cools the oven down just a little bit. So I've got a thermometer that I put in my oven just because sometimes the electronic thermometer doesn't always, say exactly what it is at the moment. So I got a thermometer and I had to take my oven up about 20 degrees just to make sure that it stayed at 300 degrees. So I ended up cooking this for an hour and 10 minutes, and now what we do is take it out of our water bath and then just let it cool completely, and then you can refrigerate it. Like, you wouldn't want to put this in the refrigerator right now because this really hot glass pan would probably bust something in the refrigerator. But anyhow, so we want to let this cool completely, and then you can serve. It's great for breakfast. You can either serve it cold right out of the fridge, or if you want to warm it up in the microwave just a little bit. But thank you so much for watching We'll Bake for Food.
Only food.